Todd Zolecki put out an article yesterday or a day or two ago about his 5 bold predictions for the Phillies. It got me thinking, got me excited for baseball season. So we're going to talk that second half of today's show. But the first half of today's show, we got my man Shane Haff from the Peanut Lines. We're talking Eagles. We're talking the injuries. Trending in the AM starts in 30 seconds.
Gets around in front. And Philadelphia has it.
And a very good morning, everybody. Welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media. Live, as you know, always on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Hit me those like buttons, comment buttons, subscribe buttons, every button you can find. Make sure you hit them and share this show out as we continue to grow this brand. I'm coming to you live from brisk but sunny Orlando, Florida this morning. Vacation time here for the new year with the family. So we're going to do our best to hope there's not too many kids running through here. They're probably going to jump in the pool even though it's 8:30 a.m. and cold as hell out here. So we'll try to have as much fun as we can here today. But to start today's show out, we got my man Shane Haff back here on Trending in the AM. He's the host of Chalk Talk on the Peanut Lines, does work for Bleeding Green Nation. Good morning, Shane. How you doing today?
Good morning. There's always like an extra level of anxiety with a live show and there's kids running around. I've been doing that the last week with kids out of school, and it adds an extra element, we'll say, to podcasting.
Adds a little bold, unexpected. I love unexpected moments when you just never know what's going to happen. So that's always great like that. I hope your holidays were well so far. Well, there, Shane. I appreciate you taking some time out this morning to come on and talk Eagles with me here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Always enjoy hopping on to chat Eagles with you, and we've had you on a few times, and it's time to come invade your territory now.
Hey, you know what? There was a point early in this season when I made on the Peanut Lines the bold prediction that Hassan Reddick would have 18 and a half sacks. I was like, there's no chance whatsoever we're going to even get close to that after like a week or two of the season. But he's had a damn hell of a – and he's not going to get 18 and a half. But he's going to get a lot closer to that number than I thought he would, actually.
Yeah, I was revisiting that over-under prediction show the other day to kind of update where we're at, and it's going to come down to the wire, but I'm definitely going to lose.
I don't even remember the only prediction I remember from that show is my 18 and a half sacks right there. So that's because I just know it was such a bold and unnecessary to predict 18 and a half. That was not necessary whatsoever. That just took it a little too far.
Well, you got it on the record, and he's.
Yeah, I'm trying to close. Yeah, I'm trying to close out some tabs here. I think I got too many tabs open here for a vacation on Wi-Fi situation. Here.
Yeah, it's a little spotty for you. You're coming in and out a little bit.
Yeah, I'm trying to close out as much as I. Oh man, all right. Close out here. Taking my phone off the Wi-Fi. Can you hear me at all?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right, so let's get into the Eagles here. I'll set the question while I work on this Wi-Fi here, and get you talking here. Obviously, the Eagles have some massive injury issues that are happening right now, and it seems like every single day there's a new thing happening here, and we've got the Miles Sanders added to the injury report now. We've got the A.J. Brown limited in practice. What is going on here with this Eagles injury situation? And you think that there's some thread or some thought process that maybe they should just, preparing for the playoffs and resting these guys and just hope that the system and the culture they've developed can get one of these wins the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, the Eagles are getting unhealthy at the worst time. They've been remarkably healthy all season, and now, against Chicago, Jalen Hurts gets injured. Against the Cowboys, you lose Lane Johnson, you lose Avonte Maddox again, both guys looking to be out for a while. You've already had Chauncey Gardner-Johnson injured. Jordan Davis gets concussed. Now A.J. Brown is on the injury report. Like, the Eagles are stacking injuries at the worst possible time, and If they would have won the Dallas game, they could have shut a bunch of guys down, but they didn't. So they find themselves in a position they need a win. In an ideal world, you go beat the Saints this weekend. You lock up the 1 seed. You eliminate the Saints from the playoff picture mathematically for draft pick purposes, and then you get everybody out of there for the Giants game. A couple weeks ago, I said that I wouldn't do that. I would want to play guys at least a quarter or a half, handle it like a preseason game. But at this point, the only thing that matters is getting healthy, and the injury bug is starting to bite. You just want as few guys on the field as possible in that Week 18 game.
Yeah. So I'm still struggling here to have any kind of service here. I got bits and pieces of that, but I kind of understand what you're saying there. From all that, first and foremost, the Miles Sanders situation kind of jumped up and caught my eye today when that was announced that he missed practice with. Is there any scenario where maybe they this week? Because of the fact that he's obviously struggled the last couple of weeks with a couple fumbles and stuff like that. More experience in a heavier duty role because Miles Sanders. But if Miles Sanders is going to fall to those, you also need Gainwell ready to be able to play in the playoffs.
Yeah, the Eagles like Kenny Gainwell a little more than I do, so I think maybe you could see him a little bit more.
Right there with
Yeah, the Saints. If you look at where they're weak defensively, it's against the run. They're a pretty good pass defense and a pretty poor rush defense. So I think you could see a run-heavy approach. By the same token, the Cowboys should have been weak against the run as well, and they stacked the box and forced Gardner Minshew to beat them. So I don't know how the Saints will play that, but I think there's potential you could see a pretty run-heavy approach. I'm really not too concerned about Sanders, though. I never saw him get banged up in the game. I never saw him come up gimpy. So I almost wonder if it's just an abundance of caution thing with him versus A.J. Brown, who we saw come up gimpy, and we saw him not play at 100% the rest of the game. So not all limited participants are created equally, especially in Week 17. Everybody's a little banged up. I'm not super concerned about Sanders going, but it is definitely something to monitor as the injury report for Thursday and Friday comes out and see how much he practices.
Do you think that because if I remember correctly, and I think the Wi-Fi seems to be back to working normal here, so that's good. I think I got a clear connection right now. Do you think, if I remember correctly, if Dallas loses tonight, the division's locked up? I don't think that locks up the number 1 seed officially. But do you think how tonight's game plays out if Dallas goes out and loses to Tennessee, which it sounds like Tennessee is going to be resting a lot of their guys as well, so Dallas should have an easier opportunity to win tonight, and they should win tonight. But do you think how tonight's game plays out should play into Nick Sirianni and the guys, the coaches, philosophy for this weekend?
I don't. It would lock up the division. That's not really the goal, though. They've got to lock up that 1 seed. So to do that, they would need both the 49ers and the Vikings to lose a game as well. The Vikings, they're always a threat to lose a game. Or excuse me, actually, just the Vikings to lose a game, I think, locks up.
Yeah, I didn't think San Francisco. I was about to look that up, but I didn't want to mess with my Wi-Fi connection here by looking anything up here.
Per 538, San Francisco would have to lose a game for the Eagles to. Now they're 2 games behind, so the Eagles, as long as they won one of their final 2, they could lock it up. So you get off into the weeds there, but winning the division doesn't do a ton if you don't get that 1 seed. I mean, it gets you to host a playoff game, but you don't get the bye. So I think it's really unlikely that Tennessee will win that game. They're taking a lot of starters out. Their game is meaningless. They just have to beat the Jaguars in Week 18. Same thing for the Jaguars. Week 17 doesn't matter. They could both take it off. So I don't think it really has an impact, even if Tennessee were to pull an upset. I just think you want to go out, especially you have draft pick considerations and things, but you want to go out and get a win. You don't want to limp into the playoffs here, losing all 3 of your final games and just getting lucky that somebody else lost too.
Yep. So obviously Jalen Hurts is trending not to be playing, and you've put some great stats out there about Gardner Minshew and how he played against the Cowboys. So I do want to get into Gardner Minshew here for a second, but Jalen Hurts, if we come out this week and Jalen Hurts doesn't play, and then we lock it up, we win, whatever. Because honestly, like I said, Gardner Minshew played pretty decently on Sunday. Actually, really well on Sunday. Is there a scenario where Jalen Hurts even takes next week off as well if they've got it locked up this week? But then you're looking at that scenario where he's got 4 weeks off of no football. Are you comfortable with the Eagles going into the playoffs in that scenario with Jalen Hurts not playing a live game action for 4 straight weeks?
I don't think it's ideal. I mean, there's no substitute for live game reps. You can try to simulate it in practice, but it's just not the same. So I don't think it's ideal, but I do think it's the world that we live in. And honestly, from what I've read, what I've heard people say about the SC joint injury, I don't think that Jalen Hurts plays Week 18, even if the Eagles were to lose.
Okay.
Tyreek Hill missed 4 to 5 weeks with that injury a couple years ago, and he doesn't need to throw a football with his shoulder. So I don't think Hurts comes back for the Giants game regardless, and it might be – I don't know that he's going to be at 100% for that playoff game. Now, what variation of that percentage he's at, I'm not sure. I mean, everybody's body's different. I don't know how that injury is going to affect him, but it was on that throwing shoulder, and so it could be a big deal come playoff time. I don't think you see him Week 18, regardless of the results this weekend, though.
Okay, so let's talk about Gardner Minshew, and obviously I saw you put out a stat about Gardner Minshew against the blitz and how well he performed against the blitz. We honestly, at this point, I mean, the team that the Cowboys are, they're a little bit better than we give them credit for, but they're still not a very good football team. Minshew played damn well on Sunday, and I mean, I think your stat you put out there on the blitz are proof that we are more winning one of these games down.
Your Wi-Fi went in and out a little bit there.
I went out. We got 5 good minutes of good internet there.
Yeah. Gotta love being away from home, but yeah. To your point on Gardner Minshew, I think Gardner Minshew caught more flack for that game than he should have from some Eagles fans. And, there's 2 interceptions. I would argue both of those interceptions, the primary responsibility fell on Quez Watkins for. At the end of the day, Dallas had the number 3 DVOA defense, the number 3 EPA defense, the number 7 point per game defense, and the Eagles destroyed it with a backup quarterback, minus a couple turnovers. They never punted the ball. I think the reason that Minshew caught some flack is it just looks so aesthetically different from Jalen Hurts. He had the play where he broke the pocket and tried to scramble, and he's just painfully slow compared to Jalen Hurts. And, he got happy feet, and that's not ideal, but it didn't really cost him too much. He didn't look comfortable in the pocket early. You could tell a discernible difference on the velocity of the ball when he throws it versus Hurts. And Hurts doesn't have like a Josh Allen arm, but Minshew has a pretty weak arm, so the ball kind of floated up there sometimes. But, overall, especially in the second half once he settled in, Minshew played great. He was a perfect 8 of 8 against the blitz with a perfect QB rating. That 4th and 10 rep is the lasting thing that's going to linger in people's minds. And terrible pocket management. He kind of created pressure where there wasn't pressure. The rush comes in off the right side, and both Driscoll and the guy end up on the ground, but Minshew kind of gets spooked and drifts into it and heaves it into the back of the end zone where no one is. So that was a bad play. But outside of that, I thought he played really well in the second half once he settled in, and he's good. One thing he's better at than Hurts is layering those throws over the middle of the field. Like so many times he stuck his back foot in the ground at the top of his drop, and he kind of rainbowed one in there. And part of that is because he has to throw those balls so early because he doesn't have the arm strength Hurts has. But he did a really good job of kind of layering those throws in between linebackers and safeties in a way that Jalen Hurts doesn't really do. And that's not a critique of Hurts, but he's got some strengths to his game, and I think the Eagles can build around that. One thing I thought we would see that we didn't was more under center running. It's really hard to run out of the shotgun when you don't have a mobile quarterback. And I thought that the Eagles would get under center more. They only did it for 6 snaps in that game, and 2 of them were QB sneaks. 1 or 2, I can't remember. But they didn't get under center. I think you will see that a little more against the Saints this week.
You mentioned Jack Driscoll's name there a few moments ago, I believe. And obviously the Lane Johnson injury, news yesterday that he's, He's just going to rehab. He does need surgery, but he's going to push it off. A, is it the right decision to make? And B, I'm fairly confident in Jack Driscoll. Obviously, Jack Driscoll is not anywhere near Lane Johnson. There's no doubt about that. But I'm confident in this Eagles coaching staff to have Jack Driscoll ready to go, but also, a great game plan, whether it's that extra tight end there helping chip and block, or whoever's in the backfield helping him out there. I'm pretty confident in the work that this coaching staff will do to have Jack Driscoll ready to play. And if Lane Johnson's not ready to go by the playoffs, 2 straight weeks of good, game reps to have him ready for the playoffs, Jack Driscoll.
Yeah, I'm not terribly concerned. I think Driscoll is going to give you fine play. It is a big loss if Lane doesn't come back fully healthy. He's such a big part of what they do. So much they like to get Lane out in space. They like to get Kelsey out in space in the running game and the screen game. And Jack Driscoll's not going to bring that. But for getting through 2 games here, getting a win out of one of them, you can certainly do that. And if you get Lane Johnson back at 85% in the playoffs, that's probably still a top 10 offensive tackle in the NFL. So it's not ideal. But
yeah, I think that's
hopefully he
insane.
comes back healthy and we're able to roll in the playoffs.
That just statement right there, 85% of Lane Johnson is still a top 10 tackle in football. And I think that just goes to say how great he is and how underappreciated he really is, not just from the Eagles, but across the NFL as a whole.
Yeah, I don't know how he's so underrated. Like, he hasn't a lot of sacks since like World War II or something like that. I forget the exact stat. So
Yeah.
certainly
You're ballpark accurate
underappreciated.
there.
Yeah, something like that. But he's just so good. And you even know in that game, the Cowboys, in the first game, they put Micah Parsons over there. This game, they didn't even try. Micah Parsons exclusively rushed against Jordan Mailata off the left side. They didn't even try to give it to Lane.
All right, so my man Joe Bucci checking in saying the Eagles need to establish the run as well this week. So that's something I noticed. I mean, if you looked back against the Jets last year when Gardner Minshew started, they ran the ball a lot. I think it was like 34 or 35 times between Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell, and they only threw the ball 25 times. Now, do you think they threw the ball so much against Dallas because that's what the game flow dictated, or do you think that was their game plan to throw the ball so many times against Dallas? Because you would think with Gardner Minshew in there, you would want to establish that run a massive amount. You'd want the Eagles to, have a game plan where they're running the ball 30, 35 times against the Saints this week. Do you think they will go towards that a little bit more this week?
I actually thought they ran the ball too much against Dallas.
Oh, wow.
It just wasn't working. Dallas was stacking the box. So 60% of the Eagles' runs were into stacked boxes, and it just wasn't working. Without the threat of Jalen Hurts to run, it doesn't force the Cowboys to devote a guy to that in the box, and the running game just didn't get going. And I was surprised the Cowboys did that because the Cowboys are down a whole bunch of cornerbacks. They've been weak to the pass. I thought they would have been a little more comfortable playing straight up, but they were definitely playing the run. And I thought in the first half the Eagles played into that and wasted a lot of downs. Now, ultimately the offense still hummed, but I thought that they were a little too devoted to the run early, even though it didn't end up costing them. I don't think, or I would expect them to come into the Saints game feeling a little more confident in Minshew, but also realizing the Saints have a pretty poor run defense and a pretty good pass defense. So I think you'll kind of see what the Saints do. If the Saints play neutral boxes, I think you'll see the Eagles try to run the ball. But if they stack the box, I think they'll be comfortable letting Gardner Minshew drop back.
All right, so then how do you see this week going, like the game plan, not just the game plan, but the script of this game, how when we're watching it on Sunday here, how will it play out, and will they be able to get this final important win locked up this week?
I think they will. I picked the Eagles to win 28-17. I think they're going to work some things out on the defensive side. This is going to be a game in the trenches, in my opinion. The Saints.
That's my favorite kind of game.
Yeah, the Saints defensively, they're 32nd in pass rush win rate. They're 26th in run stop win rate. And so the reason that they're a competent defense is they have an outstanding secondary. They're third in drop back EPA the last 6 weeks. So I expect the Eagles to try to bully them up front. That's another way you can protect a backup offensive lineman is by getting him moving forward in the run game. So I think the Eagles will try to establish the run. And then on the flip side, I think the Saints are going to run the ball a lot too. They love to run the ball. They're a very high pre-snap motion run team, and so this is going to be a big week for the front seven of the Eagles, not to get out of their gap integrity against all the motion that the Saints are going to throw at them. The Saints run a lot of heavy personnel. I don't know if the Eagles will put a third linebacker on the field. I don't know if they're going to do that. Or I guess it'd be a fourth linebacker. They're more 3-4-ish, but whatever we're going to call the defense, I think you'll see a lot of those 5-man fronts with 2 linebackers as well behind it, and you're just going to see a slugfest in the trenches. That's kind of what I see coming up.
Completely sort of off topic. Yesterday through my travels here to Florida, I saw come across my phone that the Eagles had brought in former Cowboys tight end Blake Jarwin. Because the Eagles now, with this link, probably utilize the second and third tight end to help blocking and stuff like that a little bit more. Is there like a lack of confidence in Cahtahhaht now that they're actually Week 17 looking at additional tight ends to be brought in?
Yeah, I'm not sure on that. That they pretty much, when they brought
really
people
odd
in,
and out of left field that bringing him in.
Yeah, when they've brought guys in this season, they've pretty much signed them. I'm not sure if that's just a depth thing. I'm not sure what the move is there. Obviously, they're going to get Goddard out if they win this game. Goddard wouldn't play Week 18, I'm sure. But you still have Stoll and Cahtahhaht. I'm not really sure how they see the pieces fitting together there. The only thing I can think is that they do want to run a little more heavy personnel.
Yeah. No, they did not, Joe, sign him. So I was just curious about the reasoning even before, even bringing him in. It just didn't. I was thinking maybe I missed something there that was going on.
Yeah, nothing that I've heard. I think it might just be a depth look. I'm not really sure, to be honest.
Yeah, if you're going to bring them in for just a depth look, bring them in the week before the Cowboys game. Get a little inside information on the Cowboys there, maybe. So Shane, again, I'm sorry about the weak internet connection here today. This has been a rough one. So what do you guys got going on at the Painted Lines and Bleeding Green Nation this week for you?
Yeah, so I just put out the EPA podcast on Bleeding Green Nation on the BGN radio feed yesterday. I had Johnny Page on, and we talked a whole lot, nerded out about the X's and O's of the Cowboys game, and talked briefly about the Saints game. So if you want some more info about that, you can go check it out. I've got 3 all-22 videos up on YouTube right now that people can check out at Shane Haff NFL. I broke down the play sequencing, how the Eagles really targeted Trevon Diggs and used his aggressiveness against him. In one of the videos, I did one on all of Gardner Minshew's throws against the blitz, and another about just the defensive communication issues. I think a lot of people took umbrage with the defensive play calling in this game, and it was one of my favorite videos to do, not because of the subject. I don't really like talking about the defense breaking down, but bringing nuance to that discussion, because people just throw out, the zone, the 24-24 against zone coverage, and that's a pretty misleading stat, to be honest. So I went through some of those big miscommunications, breakdowns, what happened. So that was a cool video. You guys can check those out. They're also cut up into like Twitter length clips, 2 minutes, that'll go out throughout the day today on Twitter. So you can follow those, or you can check those out as well if you want to follow me on Twitter at @halfandhalf_TPL. The tweet deck is fully loaded today. I came back from being gone for a week and a half, and we're ready to go again.
Dude, I love your video. I love when you put the short bursts on Twitter.
Yeah.
Because I don't have time to watch like 40, 50 minutes or anything like that. I get 2 minutes. It gets me thinking. Then I go back later, find your next one, watch a couple minutes of it. I love it. You do great work there. Hey, Shane, thank you very much for coming on. We'll get you back on in the playoffs here when I've got a better internet connection. So I greatly appreciate it. I greatly appreciate your time. You have a great new year, and happy and safe new year for you there, and you and your family.
Thanks. I appreciate it. By the way, I've been looking at it the whole time, and it just clicked for me that I swear it looks like your background there. It looks like you're in the conference room in the office.
Yeah. It does it?
It does a little bit. You got the window on either side.
I guess, maybe. Yeah.
You got both sides there.
Yeah. I last year when we were down here in Florida, I had this great, background of a golf course and a lake and stuff like that. My backyard this year backs up to like the woods, so it's not a really good looking view. So we're just going here. And if I flip this around to the pool view, then that's gonna be even further away from the Ethernet, or the internet. So it'll be even worse of a signal if I move this background any. So yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for your time. I'm gonna get you out of here. Again, everybody, give Shane a follow at @halfandhalf_TPL. Again, Happy New Year, my man, and we'll talk again soon.
All right. Thanks for having me, Phil.
Thanks a lot. Oh, there you go. I love it. I love it. That was Shane Haff from the Painted Lines right there. My man, we're going to take a quick pause in the action here. Today's show is brought to you by Gents Barber Lounge. Check out one of their two great locations, Fishtown and Old City today, and book your appointment. They own the craft and it shows, rated the #1 barbershop on Yelp in the Philadelphia area. They can handle any style cut, adult or kid. Check out some of their great work right here. Gents Barber Lounge, Fishtown, and Old City. Book your appointment today. Okay, we're back here trending in the AM on DSM Media. Sort of live because, the internet keeps kicking out, and I apologize in advance. Not sure. Thought the internet was good, but I had tested it out. But we're going to keep rolling right along here today's show. We're going to try to speed it up, keep it under an hour, then figure out this internet for tomorrow's show, which tomorrow I'll have my man Jake from Talking 215 join me. We're going to talk Sixers, more Phillies, more Eagles. But we got a special guest join me now. Back for the first time in a long time on the show, my man, Cahtahhaht. I had a whole intro lined up for you, but I closed every single tab out on my screen to try to help you. So I do not have it now. So good morning, Carter. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. You're lucky I'm even up this early, but I saw the tweet you needed help. You know what? I'm like, why not? I'll come back. I'm making my triumph
I didn't
return.
need help. I wanted people that were awake, that don't really work or in school, or that there's a bunch of teacher content creators out there. But then you said Carter.
You
I'm
got
like,
me
I'm bring on Carter. The guy that likes to call me old all the time on social media. Yes, and yes, I saw your comments in the comment section while I was talking to Shane Haff there. I don't know what the hell is going on with the Wi-Fi here. The Wi-Fi here is absolutely trash. Honestly, I think it's just too many people in this house. There's like 14 people logged into the Wi-Fi. So we're going to try our best to bang out this conversation here. Real quick, before we get to Phillies, because I want to talk Phillies. I know you're a big Phillies guy, and I want to get into the Todd Zolecki 5 bold predictions article that he put out yesterday. But real quick, what are your thoughts on this Eagles situation, where they're at now? Now they got their backs up against the wall. They have to win one of these next 2 games, and they've got so many injuries piled up. But from what Shane was saying, how are you feeling confidence-wise that they get the job done this weekend?
I mean, I'm always so negative, and I'm there again. Like, I am panicking big time. This game, like, against the Saints they got a target on their back. They took the Saints first round pick, and I'm sure the Saints would love to win this game just to mess with their draft position. So that worries me a lot. I don't trust Gardner Minshew. I know he had an okay game against the Cowboys. And I'm definitely worried about the last game of the season against the Giants because the Giants may have to win that game to try to make the playoffs too. Especially with Lane Johnson being out these next couple games. I'm scared. But if the Eagles play like they have been, besides the Commanders game and besides the Cowboys game, I shouldn't have to worry about anything. They can win with the running game. They can win with the passing game. They can win with their defense. They just need to play their brand of football and not kill themselves, and they'll be fine.
Yes, Joe, the Saints are actually technically in the playoff hunt as well. I think that's actually an interesting thread, what you said, Carr. It's not just the injuries, but the Saints, wanting to hurt that draft pick for us. Do you think the players really think about that, though? Because, that's the GM. The GM got robbed on that trade, not the players. Do you think the players actually – half these players – you got Andy Dalton doesn't care what happens to the Saints next year. He probably won't even be on the Saints next year. Kamara, who knows what's going on. It's kind of crazy that, I don't know if the players really care or not. But yet, that GM's probably in that locker room like, yo, guys, I screwed up. Help me out here a little bit.
The GM and probably the coach too. Both are trying to win that game.
Their coach is terrible as well. All right, let's get to some Phillies talk here. I don't know if you saw it, but Todd Zolecki put out an article about his 5 big predictions for 2023 for the Phillies. And, after, the Trey Turner signing, kind of like the offseason kind of cooled off, even though we got, Craig Kimbrell a week or so ago, it's not as big of a deal as the Trey Turner deal. So the offseason kind of cooled off. But then I was reading his article yesterday, and I read it again this morning, and it kind of got me re-pumped up for baseball. we're about what, like 90 days from opening day, about 60 days till pitchers and catchers report. Baseball will be here soon. And I don't know if you got to read his article before you came on here, but he put out 5 bold predictions. And I want to talk about those 5 predictions and really see what you think about it, get some of my thoughts on it. Really think about this a little bit. So his first bold prediction for 2023 was, and this is actually interesting because I've talked about this since the Taijuan Walker signing, is that he says Aaron Nola will have his long-term extension done in the spring before opening day. Do you agree Aaron Nola will be locked up long-term by opening day?
No, I actually don't think he's coming back at all after this year.
You must have been listening to me because that was my thought too.
That Taijuan Walker signing to me kind of put the nail in the coffin to that. They still have everybody talks about Painter, but they still have Abel right behind him, who maybe isn't quite as good as a pitcher, but 100% is a starting pitcher in the major leagues coming up here soon. So them signing Taijuan Walker for 4 years, I'm like, well, that was a shot that, like, okay, either Wheeler or Nola's going, and I think it's probably Nola.
Yeah, I mean, you got Zach Wheeler signed for 2 more years. Ranger Suarez, I think, is under team control for 3. You signed Taijuan Walker for 4. You could have gone out and gotten Jose Quintana or some of the other starters that went for 1- and 2-year deals, but you go out and you give Taijuan Walker 4 years. I don't know if it means that they didn't. I think it was, in their opinion, their thought process was, we don't know if we can sign Aaron Nola to a deal that we want, and this is our backup plan. But once we got Taijuan Walker locked up for 4 years, it definitely put like that thought in the same exact thought in my head. Like, what are they doing here with Aaron Nola? Aaron Nola, I've criticized Aaron Nola. A lot of people have criticized Aaron Nola, and he had a great 2022 season. Obviously, even till about the World Series, he was having a great season, probably right up there with his Cy Young candidate season in 2018. But do the Phillies really trust Aaron Nola, big picture, if you look at his whole entire career, to give him, based off of the money pitchers are getting, Aaron Nola on the open market is going to get a 5 or 6 year deal? What did Carlos Rodon get? Like 160, 170 million? He's going to be in line for a deal similar to that, 5 years, 170 million. Are the Phillies really going to be confident enough in Aaron Nola, big picture, to give him that kind of deal? And I just don't know if they are. And I think that bold prediction there really surprised me, because obviously Todd Zolecki covers the team for a living, and I'm just not confident that it gets done, especially before opening day.
Yeah, especially with one of his other predictions in there. That one kind of surprised me.
Which one are you talking about? The Andrew Painter one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we could skip. I think that was number 3 or 4 on his list, is that Andrew Painter will be finishing the top 3 in the Rookie of the Year voting in 2023. And I know you got your connections and you're in with the minor league system there. I know you're a huge Andrew Painter fan. So I disagree with this prediction based off of principle. I don't think a 19-year-old should get called up to the majors yet. I just don't want to, push the kid too soon. He's obviously got all the talent in the world. For him to finish in the top 3 in the Rookie of the Year candidacy and voting, he's got to be up by whatever that date is in the beginning of May or end of April, when you prolong the time till he's a free agent. I think he's got to be up before or by that time at the latest to be in that consideration. I don't want him up here that soon. I think Bailey Falter proved this past year, viable enough to be a number 5 starter at least for 6 months. You're not going to want to put a 19-year-old kid out there for 150, 160 innings. You're not going to want to risk that. He's the future of this rotation. Is it really necessary to bring him up soon enough to put him in the Rookie of the Year conversation?
I don't think he's going to be up until he's going to be our big deadline acquisition this year. I think they're going to bring him up right after the trade deadline, and that's when he's going to start. I don't think he's going to have enough innings this year to win Cy Young. No, I think he's going to pitch very, very well once he gets up here. But they need to give him a little bit of time in AAA. You can't just throw a kid up that quickly.
What do you think of I brought it up a few times. I've seen other people talk about it, of some teams, and I think it's perfect for the Phillies, going to a 6-man rotation, because you got so many young arms and you want to protect their arms, or at least, we did in the playoffs where we did piggyback games. You have Noah Syndergaard go for 2 or 3 innings, then you got the next guy go for 2 or 3 innings in bullpen. Protecting the innings that these young kids have, where you go out there and you throw Andrew Painter for 3 innings to protect his inning numbers, and then you have Bailey Falter come out and know ahead of time, inning 3 or inning 4, you're going to be ready to pitch every game. Do you think that more teams should start, at least considering that?
No, because I think it winds up actually hurting the pitcher in the long run. They're never stretched out enough where if Andrew
It's
Painter
true.
needs to go complete game, he's not used to pitching that kind of innings. Now you have him used to being almost just like a reliever. And I think you need to that was the biggest problem with Spencer Howard is you had Spencer Howard coming up here after only pitching 4 or 5 innings all the time in the minors, and people would be shocked when he came up and only pitched 4.5 innings and got racked up. That's the problem because he wasn't pitching enough. You need to
Right.
continue to pitch Andrew Painter 6 to 7 innings a night and let him build up his stamina that way. And if you want to limit the innings by saying, okay, you're going to pitch every 7 days or every 6 days and maybe skip a couple starts there, that makes sense. But I wouldn't go and just cut down his innings because you want to cut down his innings.
So I mean, you've seen Andrew Painter pitch. I have not seen him pitch other than a few glimpses on social media, on YouTube clips and stuff like that. What makes Andrew Painter such a special pitcher that we should? Because you mentioned Spencer Howard. We've had so many elite minor league pitchers that have not panned out. I remember back in the day. We had the 4 baby aces. It was Kyle Drabeck. It was actually, I think, what was the lefty that was a reliever for us for a while? He was one. We had a stretch back there, and
Time.
yeah. Well, no, not before your time. I mean, well, maybe in your childhood, you were a little child at the time. But we've had, honestly, a lot of elite talent in the minors that haven't panned out pitching wise. But Andrew Painter just seems to be on a different level, and I'm even getting excited about the prospects of him in this rotation, end of this year, next year, whatever it may be. What's making him so special? What is he as a pitcher?
What's so special about Andrew Painter is he can throw 100 miles an hour, hit it on the corner, and then come back with a 72-mile-an-hour curveball and just buckle him.
Mhm.
It's just absolutely filthy, the amount of poise he has as a young kid. I saw him multiple times last year, and the first game was a doubleheader that he pitched in that was just a 7-inning game. He went 7 innings, gave up 1 run, and I think he struck out 11. And then the next game I saw him pitch 7 innings, he struck out 12 and gave up like 3 hits. The guy is just filthy, and he is literally the best pitcher I've ever seen in the minors. It sounds
That's
crazy to say. It
does.
sounds
It
crazy
does.
to say, but the guy is absolutely mowing down guys. Would he have like a 1.5 ERA or something crazy like that? And in a decent amount of innings too. My only worry about Andrew Painter is that he hasn't been racked up yet. He hasn't been
Okay.
hit hard yet. How's he
Hasn't
going to
faced any of
respond
that
after that?
adversity. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great point right there, because we've talked about that a lot with the Eagles this year. Winning so many games, they're going to face adversity at some point. Get them to face that adversity so you see how they respond. Maybe some time in AAA. Maybe he's that good and he'll just dominate AAA as well. But you would think at some point in AAA he'll have at least 1 or 2 bad games. Ken Giles was not the guy I was thinking of. I think Adam Morgan, wasn't he a lefty reliever on our team? I believe he was a starter
Well,
in the minors at one point, and he was part of this group known as the Baby Aces.
Adam Morgan
So
wasn't a part of that, but Adam Morgan was a left-handed reliever.
yeah, but he started in the minors as a starter. I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to read the screen here. Here's the difference. Sixto Sanchez is another one. I still think Sixto Sanchez can become a good, viable starter in baseball, but we obviously won that deal with the Marlins there. It's just exciting to have a prospect like Andrew Painter at this point in his career. So I just still, at this point, want to protect him for as long as, like, we're not talking about wait until he's 24 or 25 to call him up. I'm just saying at 19 years old, you might want to think a little bit about it. We've even seen in the past teams like not send up, like, he's going to be in spring training with the Phillies major league team. Have him there, then send him off to like an extended spring training where he's not even pitching too competitively at first. Then send him in May to AAA for a month and a half. Get him some work there, and then bring him up. You got to watch the innings on a 19-year-old arm. You don't need him blowing that arm out. What was it? How old was Steven Strasburg when they brought him up? It was like 20, 21,
Yeah,
and his arm was blown out by the time he was 23. And I know he made several comebacks. He had some really good seasons, but they rushed him. and they blew that arm out and ruined what could have been one of the greatest pitching careers of all time. He was still really good, but not to the hype that he was supposed to be. But I just want him protected a little bit. So I don't want him in the running for Rookie of the Year because of that.
My bold prediction is that Abel will be up before Painter.
I've heard people say McGreary as well. Griff would be up before Painter as well. So
he's going to be a reliever, I think. I think he'll be up, but he's going to be a reliever.
All right. So the next bold prediction, one that's brought a lot of debate and discussion on social media, and I don't actually think it's a debate at all. I don't think it's a bold prediction. I think it should just be what it is, and that is Trey Turner. He predicts will be the leadoff hitter for the Philadelphia Phillies. I see no reason why that there should be even a discussion. I know Kyle Schwarber, analytically speaking, didn't do as bad as people think in the leadoff spot last year, but especially early in the season with Bryce Harper missing time, and that's another bold prediction we'll get to in a minute. Unique Kyle Schwarber's run-producing ability in the middle of the lineup, and Trey Turner is the prototypical, exactly what you want out of a leadoff hitter. So are you putting Trey Turner in the leadoff spot to start this season?
Absolutely. With Bryce Harper being out for as long as he's going to be,
well,
I definitely
if Bryce
see
Harper
it.
wasn't out, would he still be the leadoff hitter?
Maybe, just because you want to split up the lefties and righties. But I just Trey Turner's got way too much speed. I know he's a prototypical leadoff hitter, and he's still got power. Like, he's still going to hit 25, 30 home runs this year. So if you're all worried about that power, don't worry about it, because Trey Turner is going to hit some out. And
yeah, I mean, the one thing you say the power. Everybody loves when Kyle Schwarber leads off the game with a top of the first, home run. Well, Trey Turner might not hit as many as Kyle Schwarber, but he could still do that. So he could still produce that, pop at the top of the lineup that excites the crowd, excites and energizes the team. So yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, and Schwarber is the prototypical cleanup hitter with his power. So having that to start the season, I think, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I really don't even know why that's listed. I don't know why there's so much debate about that topic, because everyone bitched all season long about Kyle Schwarber's leading off all the time. Everybody wanted to constantly move him down in the lineup. Yet here we are with Trey Turner, the guy that should bat leadoff, and now everybody wants to leave him there and put Trey Turner in the 2-hole or the 3-hole. It just makes no sense to me whatsoever.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. All right, bold prediction.
It doesn't really matter either.
Yeah, well, bold prediction number 4, I think plays into it, because a lot of it has to do with when Bryce Harper will come back. Obviously, he had the surgery. Todd Zolecki thinks that he will be back in some point in June, which means he's going to miss about 60 to 70 games of the season. That's if he's back by, just say, June 15th, that is a miraculous recovery, miraculous turnaround. Because if he's back by June 15th, that means he's on his rehab assignment late May, which means he's back to swinging a bat early May. That would be an insane turnaround time from the surgery that he had, the Tommy John surgery he had, to getting back to swinging a baseball bat. Obviously, he's not going to play in the field right away. He's not going to be able to throw a baseball until probably 2024 again. But do you think they should rush him back? Do you think he'll be back that soon? Or do you just put a July 1st or July 10th date on the, and just say, whether you're ready or not, we're just going to get you as close to 100% as we can right away, and just make that'll be another trade deadline acquisition for the Phillies, getting Bryce Harper back in the lineup.
I mean, to me, unless the Phillies are like a dumpster fire, there is no reason to rush Bryce Harper back. They have enough talent on this team to force their way to the playoffs that they will be fine if Bryce Harper even gets delayed till, I don't know, middle August. Let him catch his stride right in the prime time there, right about the playoffs going to hit, and he can do what he did last year. But there's no reason to rush him, especially if he's just going to be a DH. Derek Hall can be a fine DH for you. Obviously, he's not Bryce Harper, but it's not that big of a deal to have Bryce Harper out for a little bit during the regular season. You want him to be healthy for the postseason.
I think there's something that people are not thinking about much, and that's Nick Castellanos as the DH potentially at times. He'll play right field at times. Nick Castellanos is not as bad as he was last year, and for the same reasons I said this before last season, that Aaron Nola was going to have, it's a phrase that some people might not have heard of, positive regression. So instead of getting worse, they get better. There's no way that Nick Castellanos is going to be as bad as he was last year again this year. He might not be, the guy ever again that caused you to give him an $80 million contract or $100 million contract, whatever it was. But he's not going to be like he was last year. He is going to get closer to 280, 290 batting average. He's going to start getting more doubles again. He might not hit 35 home runs or anything like that, but he is going to be a better run producer than he's been in the past. And I think if Nick Castellanos has that positive regression that I think he's going to have, it makes up for, between that and the Trey Turner signing, it makes up for the loss of Bryce Harper, at least to keep you at the same point you were last year. And then when Bryce Harper comes back, that takes you to the next level. Nick Castellanos, do you agree that he's going to have that positive regression this year? There's no way he could be as bad as he was last year again.
Yeah, I sure hope so. If not, I can guarantee he'll be gone by the trade deadline if he does not pick it back up.
And you won't be able to trade him at the deadline unless you're eating that contract.
They'll find a way to dump him somehow. But they're going to have to get somebody else out there if not.
Yeah, I don't think he should be in it. I think a lot of his problems last year was the fact that he was forced to be an everyday right fielder. He had never played the position before. He was brought in here to be the DH and then to kind of spell Schwarber in left field occasionally. Then he was forced into an everyday role. And if you look at the numbers from when he took over every day to before when he was DHing at the very beginning of the season, if you look at those splits early in the season, he was actually hitting the ball pretty well. Then you put him in an uncomfortable position. And honestly, considering the fact that he never played right field, he actually performed okay out there. I know he wasn't a great right fielder, but it wasn't any worse than when Rhys Hoskins played left field that one year. You know what I mean? Like, he was better than that. So he could do the job well.
Wasn't left.
Yeah, I think that you mentioned Derek. You mentioned Derek Hall in that DH spot. I think you're going to see more of a rotation of Hall, Castellanos, Maton, and what's the other? The center fielder from last year. Why can't I think of his name? I'm drawing a blank. Guy that was rotating. Matt Vierling. You're going to see those four guys platoon between right field and the DH spot. Castellanos will be in the lineup every day, either in right field or DH, and then he'll get rotated in or out of that position. And then one of the other guys will either, if it's a Hall's DHing, Castellanos in right field, Vierling in right field, Castellanos DHing. You'll see some combination of that based off the pitching matchups every day. And I think that kind of a rotation kind of gives you the opportunity, like you said, even if you have to hold him out till August 1st, Bryce Harper, I think that's kind of the best bet. And again, we keep talking about, Andrew Painter coming up right away and Bryce Harper coming back by June 1st. I mean, why are we rushing these guys? We just won 87 games with a lesser team. We've improved this team. Why are we trying to rush people? And we should be better even. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm a little concerned there about rushing people.
Yeah, and they won't have that. Hopefully, they don't have the same start to the season they did last year because the manager is different.
Well,
I mean, you look at the Phillies.
I know it was a magical run. Do you buy into Rob Thompson's message translate into a second season?
I do. I don't know if he's the perfect coach because I don't know if we'll ever find the perfect coach, but I think he's fine. I don't know if he'll ever win a World Series, but I think he can get us back there again.
Okay. All right. I mean, it's very tough to get to the World Series. I saw somebody predict the other day. I don't know if it was MLB.com or someone had like their projections on wins, and they actually have the Phillies winning less games this upcoming season than they did last year, which totally boggled my mind because they've gotten better, and you've got them winning less games. So, all right, let's get on to the bold prediction.
Mets less.
I'm sorry?
They play the Mets less this year, too. They only play the Mets 12 times this year. And the Braves.
So hold on. So I got a wicked glare here. I can't read these comments. Phillies tradition, drag their feet with prospects, Utley Howard, to a lesser extent Hamels. I guess get Painter up when he's ready. Yeah, I mean, there have been plenty of examples of players, coming up young that have worked out. I mean, Miguel Cabrera was up, playing with the Marlins at 20 years old, and that worked out. But pitchers, and with the way the arms work, I prefer to protect the pitchers there, Mark.
Pitchers usually don't work out when they're young.
Exactly. You want to protect those arms. Some of these pitchers, their arms aren't even fully developed yet. That's why so many people add so much velocity to their pitches as they get older. I actually was just watching the Nolan Ryan documentary that's on Netflix on the plane ride down here, and he was 47 and he was hitting 100 miles an hour, at 47 years old out there. So pitchers can get stronger, but you got to protect them to an extent. Nolan Ryan's a complete, nobody pitches that many
Freaking
innings in
nature.
that many years. Yeah, he was
Freaking
a
nature.
complete. And I do recommend watching it. I don't even remember, something Nolan, Chasing Nolan, or something like that. It was
Yeah, I
called
think
on
that's
Netflix.
it. Yeah.
Great documentary, great video, and gave me an even bigger appreciation of Nolan Ryan because I mean, you weren't born, but I was like 10 towards the end of his career. So I got the end of his career, and I was scared of him at the end of his career. I couldn't imagine what it was like pitching or hitting against him when he was young and in his prime. All right, so final bold prediction was that Rhys Hoskins has a breakout massive season. Now, he didn't give specific numbers, but he thinks he's going to see a huge positive jump in the numbers, Todd Zolecki says, of Rhys Hoskins. And I disagree with this one as well. And I don't think Rhys Hoskins is going to have a bad season. Todd Zolecki goes on to say it's his last year of his contract. He's going to be a free agent. Next year's free agent class is not as strong as this year. So there's going to be a lot of, eyes on Rhys Hoskins this year. And he's going to want a big payday. But if you look at Rhys Hoskins' numbers, and again, I had them up, I closed them out because I was trying to clear up my tabs here for the Wi-Fi. If you look at his numbers are almost identical every single year by the end of the season. He's inconsistent. He has cold stretches, hot stretches, but he's always right at 800 OPS. He's right around 30 home runs every year, right around 85 RBIs every year, right around 250 batting average every single year. His numbers outside of that rookie 3-month stretch have been spot on exact every year. And I don't know why people think that he's going to fall off a cliff or become this all-star player all of a sudden, because he is what he is. His baseline is exactly what he is every year. So do you agree with that? Do you think Rhys Hoskins has a breakout, like, massive season? Like, the way he wrote this article, I think Todd Zolecki thinks he's going to hit 340 home runs, drive in 100 runs. It's just not going to happen with Rhys Hoskins.
Yeah, you said it right on the head. Rhys Hoskins is who he is. He's not going to get any better than what he is. Could I see maybe a potential power increase a little bit? Maybe. But I don't see that average creeping up too high. Maybe the shift helps him a little bit, but I think the batting averages across the league are going to jump up quite a bit. But
Absolutely agree.
I don't know that it's going to be so significant that he's going to bat 300. I think maybe you see 270, 30 home runs, which is still a fine season for Rhys, but that's not like
you said something
jumping out of
You
shoes.
said he is what he is. But what he is not bad. People bash Rhys Hoskins for all the wrong reasons. I know he made a few big errors in the playoffs, but that's because when you're in the playoffs, errors are amplified. He just had a bad run, got in his head, whatever. He is what he is, and he is a very good first baseman. He's not an all-star first baseman, but he's just below that. A lot of teams would love Rhys. Like, if the Phillies, if Dave Dombrowski went out and said, all right, we want to trade Rhys Hoskins, teams would line up to trade for Rhys Hoskins. He is a very, very good baseball player that gets a lot of crap because 15 errors on the season. It seems like a lot, but I mean, it's not awful. I mean, it could be better.
It wasn't the errors he had. It wasn't the errors he had. It's how he had the errors. It's, just dropping the baseball, like stuff like that. That was the problem. And don't be surprised if Rhys Hoskins struggles a little bit if they don't trade him at the deadline too.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he does really well that they trade him at the deadline as well, because if you can't sign him next year, if you can't put, I don't know what they would do if they lose Rhys Hoskins, whether Bohm would go to first and they bring in a third baseman. Obviously, the rumors of Rafael Devers, is out there. You got Hall. You got things you can move. I don't know if Castellanos could play first base. Schwarber played it briefly here or there. I don't know what they could do there, but if you're going to make a move for Devers, from Boston, and you're going to trade Abel, maybe you throw Rhys Hoskins in there, then you can move Bohm over to first, maybe. I also wouldn't be surprised if Rhys Hoskins is still in the number 2 hole. Trey Turner, Hoskins, 1-2 in the lineup, especially at the start of the year without Bryce Harper in that lineup. People bash it. They bash this Schwarber-Hoskins combo, and now they're going to bash the Hoskins. He is what he is. You have to accept his cold stretches, because when he gets hot, he can carry a team just as much as Bryce Harper can. It's not, you just got to take the highs with the lows. And a baseball season is a long, long season. At the end of the day, he's always at the same point at the end of the season.
I think the one guy who is going to make a jump for this team is going to be Alec Bohm. I think Bohm's going to wind up hitting quite a few more homers this year and catching a little bit of a stride. I think Bohm is the guy who's the breakout guy this year. If there's one on
Because
this
that
team.
who was the person that some major guy just predicted Bryson Stott to be the breakout guy. Another one of your favorite players right there.
He's
Alec
going to
Bohm.
play well too.
I don't know if Alec Bohm has a power jump in his game. I don't think he'll ever be a 30 home run hitter. I think he's
No,
capped.
I'm not
I
saying
think he's
30.
capped
I
at
think 20 to
20.
25.
Yeah, I think 20 is about his peak. I think he's going to be more of maybe 1 year he does that. But if you look at Nick Castellanos' career, Nick Castellanos never had the big home run power. He was always a doubles hitter that got 20 or 25 home runs. I think that Alec Bohm is similar. Alec Bohm could hit 300. I think Bryson Stott and Alec Bohm could hit 300. Whether they both do this year, I don't know. But I think they both have 300 in them. But I also think that
Absolutely.
Alec Bohm he's a guy that could at some point in his career lead the league in doubles. And that would be perfectly fine if he does that. I think now that he's got the confidence on the defensive side now, I think that he started to figure it out and settle in at third base, and he knew that he wasn't going to be benched or the talk was going to stop once Rob Thompson took over. I think that helped his offense a lot because he wasn't, worried about his defense. He wasn't worried about making one error and being benched for 3 days. So I think that is helping him in this offseason. He could just work on a little bit of defense, a little bit. He doesn't have to focus all his energy on it. But Bryson Stott is the one that everybody's talking about breaking out this year. And I think that, if you did not sign Trey Turner, there was a significant opportunity for, especially with Bryce Harper out, to start Bryson Stott at the leadoff spot. I think he's got leadoff potential, Bryson Stott. And unfortunately now with, Trey Turner here, I don't know. Maybe you move Rhys Hoskins down. Maybe you put Bryson Stott or Alec Bohm in the 2-hole because they're both guys that see a lot of pitches, make great contact. And I think they're both at a point in their career where they could hit in that 2-hole as well.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think Stott's going to have a good jump as well. And I think Bohm has power. It's just he needs
This is
to
bold right here.
learn how to
Boom,
use it.
200 hits. Not many guys hit 200 hits in a season anymore. But
I
200
think that's
hits for
very
Bohm.
possible,
That is a
especially with the
bold.
way the shift, especially since the shift is going. Very well could see that with Bohm.
You're going to see a lot of records broken. You're going to see a lot of averages jump up. You're going to see a lot of changing. The whip category for pitchers or stat for pitchers is just going to become meaningless without the shift because you're going to give up more base runners. You're going to want more strikeout pitchers, and that's another thing with Andrew Painter. He's a strikeout pitcher. You're going to want pitchers, and I talked about this when they announced that the shift was going to go into effect. That you're going to start targeting pitchers like the ground ball pitcher is going to become a thing of the past. You're going to want to have pitchers that are pop-up fly ball pitchers and strikeout pitchers. That's what you're going to want now going forward. And there's going to be a little transition period this year into next year, but you're going to see the way teams build their pitching rotation a little bit different down the line. You're going to want those strikeout guys with that.
And you're going to see a different approach from hitters too.
Absolutely.
You're not going to have guys trying to hit home runs all the time. You'll have a guy like Bohm who's going to try to slap the ball the other way and get you some hits here and there. And that'll help everything. And I think it'll make baseball more fun because you'll have more runners on base when Bryce Harper hits a 500-foot home run.
Absolutely. All right, so we're gonna wrap up Trending in the AM right there. We got that was a lot of fun talking about. I'm excited for baseball season. The sun's shining on me right now. This Florida heat is starting to warm up here, so I'm feeling baseball right now. It's gonna hit about 82 today. I'm talking Phillies. I'm ready for baseball season. I don't know about you, but I'm ready for it. The New Year's here in a couple of days. It is time to start focusing in. I know the Eagles are going to keep our attention for a while here, and the Sixers are going to keep our attention for a while. But just the being in Florida right now with the sun shining on me, reading that article, talking about it, I'm excited for baseball season again. And I hope you are, and I hope everybody else is as well.
I always am. I always am. I can talk baseball every single day of the year.
I know. Baseball was why trending. I don't know if you know this. Baseball was why I started doing a daily morning show. That was the number one reason why I did it, because baseball is every day during the baseball season, and you could talk it every day. You could recap games, preview games. I know we talk mostly football on the show and more Sixers than Phillies, but baseball was why I started this show. There's literally zero doubt about that. So what do you got going on over there, Carter? You got Carter Media. You still got your TikTok following going over there. Have you been banned from anything lately?
I haven't been banned from anything lately, surprisingly. TikTok itself may get banned at some point. I'm trying to work on the YouTube as much as possible. Try to get as many different shows as possible going. We got all kinds of stuff over on Cahtahhaht now. So even we got some Mets fans on Cahtahhaht now, which you never think that would happen.
No,
But
that sounds like an embarrassment right there, honestly.
it kind of is, but they get views, so you know the name of the game. So, but
All about
yeah,
those
it's
views.
fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. We have you. How's the wedding? I know you're engaged now. How's the wedding planning going?
She's handling all that.
You're not
She's
worried
like,
about
"Do
it?
you
You're
like
not
this?" I'm
handling
like,
it?
"No,
Sure.
I'm staying away. I'm staying
All right.
away." That's all her.
All right. So everybody, make sure you shoot Carter a follow on all social media platforms. He's tagged in the description of the show here. And Carter, thanks for coming on. I want to wish you a happy New Year. Hope you enjoy your New Year. And we'll catch up again here sometime soon again on the show. It's great to have you on. And next time I'm ready to talk a detail baseball, you're going to be back on here.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody, Trending the AM right here on DSM Media. Again, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, follow. 6 away from 700. Let's get there today. I greatly appreciate it, guys. Sorry about the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi in the first half was terrible. The Wi-Fi during maybe it wasn't my Wi-Fi. Maybe it was Brian, or Shane Haff's Wi-Fi that was the problem, because we did not have a single problem here during our half of the show here. So hopefully everybody enjoyed this conversation today. Be back tomorrow. Like I said, Jake from Talking 215 will be joining me all show long. We're going to be talking Eagles. We're going to be talking Sixers. Maybe I'll bring in the Phillies as well, because I know he's a big Phillies fan as well. So make sure you tune in tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. right here, DSM Media. Everybody have a great day. And let's go Phillies.
Go Phils.
And Philadelphia has it.